Hello and welcome to this first look exploring session looking at the not promisingly titled, I'll be honest, How a Man May Choose a Good Wife from a Bad. It's a pleasant, conceited comedy, as it hath been sundry times acted by the Earl of Worcester's servants. So it's printed in 1602 and dates sometime prior to that, and probably sometime in 1601, but it might be earlier. We can't be absolutely certain about any of those things. We don't know who it's by, though there are some attributations that are available, which we might discuss towards the end of our first exploring sessions. But for now, we have this room to find out what's happening in the first sort of third of the play. So today, a reading Arthur and Justice is...
Hi, my name's Elizabeth Amisu, and I'm an author based in the southeast of England.
Reading Fuller, Mistress Arthur, and a second boy is...
Alexandra, and with a title like this, I already have opinions.
Reading Anselm and first boy is...
Alan, based in Suffolk, no comment.
Reading Lusam and Aminadab is...
Hello, I'm Lynn Freitas. I'm a teacher. I live in the northwestern United States.
And reading Old Arthur and Pipkin is...
Briony, Sparrow, actor in, Lincolnshire.
And I'm your host, Robert Crighton. I will be reading stage directions and also reading Old Lussam, because even though this script does feel like it's relatively compact and possibly for a company that's primarily designed for touring, we're still quite a small room, so I'm going to have to read some parts as well. So without further ado, we're going to dive into Act 1, Scene 1. I don't know how accurate the scene-act division logic is, but we'll see what the Logic Monkey delivers. Act 1, Scene 1, enter young Master Arthur and young Master Lusam.
I tell you true, sir, but to every man I would not be so lavish of my speech. Only to you, my dear and private friend. Although my wife, in every eye beheld, of beauty and of grace sufficient, of honest birth and good behaviour, able to win the strongest thoughts to her, yet in my mind I hold her the most hated and loathed object that the world can yield.
Oh, Master Arthur, bear a better thought of your chaste wife, whose modesty hath won the good opinion and report of all. By heaven, you wrong her beauty. She is fair.
Not in mine eye.
You are cloyed with dainties, Master Arthur, and too much sweetness glutted hath your taste, and made you loathe them. At the first you did admire her beauty, praise her face, were proud to have her fellow at your heels through the broad streets, when all censuring tongues found themselves busy as she passed along, to extol her in the hearing of you both. Tell me, pray you, and dissemble not, have you not, in the time of your first love, hugged such new popular and vulgar talk, and gloried still to see her bravely decked? And now a kind of loathing hath quite changed your shape of love into a form of hate. But on what reason ground you this hate?
My reason is my mind, my ground, my will. I will not love her. If you ask me why, I cannot love her. Let that answer you.
Be judge all eyes, her face deserves it not. Then on what root grows this high branch of hate? Is she not loyal, constant, loving, chaste, obedient, apt to please, loath to displease, careful to live, chary of her good name, and jealous of your reputation? Is she not virtuous, wise, religious? How should you wrong her to deny all this? Good Master Arthur, let me argue with you.
And they walk aside to have their argument. Enter Master Anselm and Master Fuller.
Oh, Master Anselm, grown a lover? Fie, what might she be on whom your hopes rely?
What fools they are that seem most wise in love. How wise they are that are but fools in love. Before I was a lover, I had reason to judge of matters, censure of all sorts. Nay, I had wit to call a lover fool, and look into his folly with bright eyes. But now intruding love dwells in my brain, and frantically hath shouldered reason thence. I am not old, and yet, alas, I dote. I have not lost my sight, and yet am blind. No bondman, yet have lost my liberty. No natural fool, and yet I want my wit. What am I then? Let me define myself. A dotard young, a blind man that can see, a witty fool, a bondman that is free.
Good aged youth, blind seer and wise fool, loose your free bonds and set your thoughts to school.
Enter Old Master Arthur and Old Master Lusam.
'Tis told me, Master Lusam, that my son and your chaste daughter, whom we match together, wrangle and fall at odds, and brawl and chide.
Nay, I think so. I never looked for better. This 'tis to marry children when they're young. I said as much at first, that such young brats would gree together e'en like cats and dogs and cats.
Nay, pray you, Master Lusam, say not so. There was great hope, though they were matched but young, their virtues would have made them sympathise and live together like two quiet saints.
You say true. There was great hope indeed. They would have lived like saints, but where's the fault?
If fame be true, the most fault's in my son.
You say true, Master Arthur, 'tis so indeed.
Nay, sir, I do not altogether excuse your daughter. Many lay the blame on her.
Ah, so you so, by the mass, 'tis like enough. For from her childhood she hath been a shrew.
The shrew? You wrong her. All the town admires her for mildness, chasteness, and humility.
For God, you say well, she is so indeed. The city doth admire her for these virtues.
Oh, sir, you praise your child too palpably. She's mild and chaste, but not admired so much.
Aye, so I say. I did not mean admired.
Yes, if a man do well consider her, your daughter is the wonder of her sex.
Are you advised of that? I cannot tell what 'tis you call the wonder of her sex, but she is... Is she? Aye, indeed she is.
What is she?
What you will, you know best what she is.
Yon is her husband. Let us leave this talk. How full of bad thoughts of suspicion. I love, but loathe myself for loving so, yet cannot change my disposition.
Medice curate ipsum.
Mihi, quod nollis emo est medicumnus herbis.
Exeunt Anselm and Fuller.
All your persuasions are to no effect. Never allege her virtues nor her beauty. My settled unkindness hath begot a resolution to be unkind still. My ranging pleasures love variety.
Oh, too unkind unto so kind a wife, too virtueless to one so virtuous, and too unchaste unto so chaste a matron.
But soft, sir. See where my two fathers are, busily talking. Let us shrink aside, for if they see me, they are bent to chide.
And exeunt young Arthur and young Lusam.
I think 'tis best to go straight to the house and make them friends again. What think ye, sir?
I think so too.
Now I remember too, that's not so good. For divers reasons, I think best stay here and leave them to their wrangling. What think you?
I think so too.
Nay, we will go, that's certain.
Aye, 'tis best, 'tis best. In sooth, there's no way but to go.
Yet, if our going should breed more unrest, more discord, more dissension, more debate, more wrangling, where there is enough already, 'twere better stay than go.
For God, 'tis true. Our going may perhaps breed more debate, and then we may too late wish we had stayed. And therefore, if you will be ruled by me, we will not go. That's flat. Now, if we love our credits or our quiets, let's not go.
But if we love their credits or their quiets, we must go and reconcile them to their former love. Where there is strife betwixt a man and wife, 'tis hell, and mutual love may be compared to heaven, for then their souls and spirits are at peace. Come, Master Lusam, now 'tis dinner time. When we have dined, the first work we will make is to decide their jars, for pity's sake.
Well, fair, but good heart. Yet are you advised? Go, said you, Master Arthur? I will run to end these broils that discord hath begun. And they exit. Now, isn't that an interesting scene? It's sort of the opening gambit following on from the title made me go, oh bugger, this isn't going to go well. But actually, the whole shape of the scene is much more complex than that initial opening gambit. We've got different viewpoints, different generations. I've got to say, I'm really loving the relationship between old Arthur and old Lusam. They, I mean, that caught me for from something of a side swipe of just going, this guy has no will of his own, does he?
Right.
Lynn.
Yeah. Oh bugger, you said. And that was kind of my reaction. Like, given the title, it's like, oh, that's a little uncomfortable. And then we start right out with, I don't like my wife anymore. I think she's ugly. Like, that's going to be really tough. Yeah, how are you going to make that not start your play off on a really down, off-putting note? I think it will help, as the fathers say, if our principals are really quite young. If Arthur is like 19, he's an unstable teenager. You can't take him seriously. There might be some hope that he'll grow up and settle down by the end of the play. So yeah, that's a challenge right off the bat, is not to start out making your audience kind of hate one of your main characters.
But I mean, it's not like he's going. Arthur pushes it too far. I mean, he's just he just doesn't like her. And then we get Fuller and Anselm, who are doing the sort of opposite of this. So we've got other things going on here. It's quite a complicated scene in the sense you've got three sets of characters basically sauntering about, not interacting really with each other. They're going, oh shit, I don't want to talk to them. I'll just go away now. So it's more complex than it first could have been. Briony.
Plus, it's not like he's, I don't know, I guess the man isn't choosing himself anyway. He's kind of, it's the old Arthur who seems to have made all of the choices. And I just love how contrary he is. He can't make up his mind. He's my spirit animal. He just has to disagree with everything. And I love that about him.
Yeah, yes, this is something the older generation looked at them and went, well, we put those two together, it'll be fine. Why are they fighting so much? I don't understand. And that's sort of interesting because we've been thrown into the middle of it. And it's not like Arthur is coming on and saying, all women are terrible, I hate them. He's just going, I'm not very happy. I mean, I'm not saying there isn't implicit problems in there, but it's not necessarily as worrying as it could have been. Alexandra, then Elizabeth, then Lynn.
Yes, I think were it not for the title, we would not necessarily have had that reaction at the beginning. It would just be another play that starts with someone complaining about their spouse. And then very soon after, we get the information from their elders that, this 'tis to marry children when they're young. So it was an arranged marriage. And so it's understandable that he doesn't like the choice that he didn't make. I like that it, all of these bits are quite, these setup bits are quite short. There's less than a page of Arthur's sort of complaint setup. There's less than a page of Fuller and Anselm. And then the two old men are just adorable. And I think you start, you're 2 minutes into this play as an audience member, and you're already having fun with these really clearly delineated characters. I was trying to figure out just at the beginning of the Old Master Arthur and Old Master Lusam dialogue whether one of them is manipulating the other to get him to say the opposite of what I don't know what the name is for it, but there is a verbal manipulation technique, and it seems to be what Old Master Arthur what Old Master Lusam is using, of going, I wonder where the fault is. Oh, it must be in my son. I don't disagree. But what about your daughter? Well, my daughter's quite terrible. No, you complain too hard about her. You're right. I do. I am too harsh. Everybody loves her. So it could be done in that way as opposed to just complete indecisiveness. He could be actually a very witty fella. And also, I really loved the Latin exchange, which is in simple enough Latin that probably a lot of the audience would have got. The idea of physician cure thyself, and then the response: "There's no herb that can cure love."
Yeah, there's no drug for this that's going to cure this. Absolutely. Elizabeth.
Yeah, I just love what Alexandra just said. And I was just thinking that, like, Old Master Lusam and Old Master Arthur, they don't seem to know their children very well. And I think that's one of the things that jumps out right at the beginning is like, they talk about, them living together as two quiet saints. And I was thinking, well, that's ridiculous. Like these two characters obviously don't gel, and then at the beginning we have Arthur complaining about his wife and he says that there's loads of good things about her and that he really liked her at the beginning. But I think maybe the honeymoon period is over, and now that he's now thinking, oh no, there's plenty more fish in the sea, and I just think I like it as a kind of a complexity to the plot, like a foible to the plot that like Arthur liked her to begin with. And then somewhere along the line, he didn't like her anymore. And I think that's quite interesting. And I love the way his friend challenges him and kind of says, she's lovely. What's your problem? And I thought that was quite nice in her defense before we see her. Because we have a lot of people talking about her and we haven't met her yet.
I mean, it is an element that, for a lot of people in modern society, not for everyone, the idea of only getting to know your wife after marriage is not something we encounter. We have a relationship, we're built towards a marriage, perhaps. By, I say, no means universal. There are still plenty of arranged marriages around the world. But for most of the people in this room, this is a view into a situation that we're not likely to actually live through ourselves. And actually, it's not actually a wholly unreasonable reaction to go, well, we've been thrown together and actually we're not getting on very well. What the hell do we do next? And especially if they are very young, which they could be, they may not have the emotional maturity to actually sensibly deal with that, which various people have said. Lynn?
Yeah, although if these are sort of ordinary level citizens class-wise, presumably Arthur and his bride have at least been acquainted with each other pretty much all their lives. I mean, most people lived in small settlements, small villages, so below the level of the aristocracy, you basically married someone you grew up with, so they're not complete strangers. Unless, we'll find out more later. Maybe it's like perhaps they did not grow up together. They're from neighboring villages and don't really know each other or something like that. But what I was going to say is, okay, here's something weird that we haven't talked about. Lusam has the same name as Arthur's father-in-law. Does that mean that he's the bride's brother? And why hasn't he said anything about, whoa, dude, you're dissing my sister. I'm not cool with that. So, like, is that, why doesn't he say anything about the fact that you're talking about my sister? It's like, why are you doing that? Why? It's like, of all people to tell me that you're unhappily married, The bride's brother is like, that's a weird choice.
Briony?
I don't know, I have siblings and I don't think it's that weird.
Yeah. I was going to say, it might be the easiest person to talk to about this issue. But hey, anyway, let's gather more data and figure out where we are. Because yes, the precise milieu, is this a city context or is this a country context? Where precisely we are, I'm sure more data will be coming. We shall see. Act 1, Scene 2. Enter Mistress, Arthur, and Pipkin.
Come hither, Pipkin. How chance you tread so softly?
Fear of breaking, mistress.
Art thou afraid of breaking? How so?
Can you blame me, mistress? I'm cracked already.
Cracked, Pipkin? How? Hath any cracked your crown?
No, mistress, I thank God. My crown is current, but
But what?
the maid gave me not my supper yesternight, so that indeed my belly wombled, and standing near the great sea-coal fire in the hall, and not being full, on the sudden I cracked. And you know, mistress, a pipkin is soon broken.
Sirrah, run to the exchange, and if you there can find my husband, pray him to come home. Tell him I will not eat a bit of bread until I see him. Prithee, Pipkin, run.
By a lady, mistress, if I should tell him so, it may be he would not come, were it for no other cause but to save charges. I'll rather tell him, if he come not quickly, you will eat up all the meat in the house, and then, if he be of my stomach, he will run every foot, and make the more haste to dinner.
Ay, thou mayst jest. My heart is not so light it can digest the least conceit of joy. Entreat him fairly, though I think he loves all places worse than he beholds me in. Will you be gone?
Whither, mistress? To the change?
Ay, to the change.
I will, mistress, hoping my master will go so oft to the change that at length he will change his mind and use you more kindly. Oh, it were brave if my master could meet with a merchant of ill ventures to bargain with him for all his bad conditions, and he sell them outright. You should have a quieter heart, and we all a quieter house. But hoping, mistress, you will pass over all these jars and squabbles in good health, as my master was at the making thereof, I commit you.
Make haste again, I prithee.
Exit Pipkin.
Till I see him, my heart will never be at rest within me. My husband hath of late so much estranged his words, his deeds, his heart from me, that I can seldom have his company, and even that seldom, with such discontent, such frowns, such chidings, such impatience, that did not truth and virtue arm my thoughts, they would confound me with despair and hate, and make me run into extremities. Had I deserved the least bad look from him, I should account myself too bad to live. But honouring him in love and chastity, all judgments censure freely of my wrongs.
Exit Mistress Arthur. Enter young Master Arthur, young Master Lusam, and Pipkin.
Pipkin, what said she when she was sent for me?
Faith, master, she said little, but she thought the more, for she was very melancholy.
Did I not tell you she was melancholy? For nothing else but that she sent for me, and fearing I would come to dine with her.
Oh, you mistake her. Even upon my soul, I durst affirm you wrong her chastity. See where she doth attend your coming home.
Enter Mistress Arthur.
Come, Master Arthur, shall we in to dinner? Sirrah, be gone and see it served in.
Will you not speak unto her?
No, not I. Will you go in, sir?
Not speak to me, nor once look towards me. It is my duty to begin, I know, and I will break this ice of courtesy. You are welcome home, sir.
Hark, Master Lusam, if she mock me not. You are welcome home, sir. Am I welcome home? Good faith, I care not if I be or no.
Thus you misconstrue all things, Master Arthur. Look if her true love melt not into tears.
She weeps, but why? That I'm come so soon, to hinder her of some appointed guests? That in my absence revel in my house? She weeps to see me in her company, and, were I absent, she would laugh with joy. She weeps to make me weary of the house, knowing my heart cannot away with grief.
Knew I that mirth would make you love my bed, I would enforce my heart to be more merry.
Do you not hear? She would enforce her heart. All mirth is forced that she can make with me.
Oh, misconceit, how bitter is thy taste! Sweet Master Arthur, Mistress Arthur too, let me entreat you reconcile these jars, odious to heaven and most abhorred of men.
You are a stranger, sir, but by your words you do appear an honest gentleman. If you profess to be my husband's friend, persist in these persuasions, and be judged with all indifference in these discontents. Sweet husband, if I be not fair enough to please your eye, range where you list abroad, only at coming home speak me but fair. If you delight to change where you please, so that you will not change your love to me. If you delight to see me drudge and toil, I'll be your drudge, because 'tis your delight. Or if you think me unworthy of the name of your chaste wife, I will become your maid, your slave, your servant, anything you will, if for that name of servant and of slave you will but smile upon me now and then. Or if, as I well think, you cannot love me, love where you list. Only but say you love me, I'll feed on shadows, let the substance go. Will you deny me such a small request? What will you neither love nor flatter me? Oh, that I see your hate here doth but wound me, and with that hate it is your frowns confound me.
Wonder of women! Why, hark you, Master Arthur, what is your wife, a woman or a saint? A wife or some bright angel come from heaven? Are you not moved at this strange spectacle? This day I have beheld a miracle. When I attempt this sacred nuptial life, I beg of heaven to find me such a wife.
Ha! Ha! A miracle, a prodigy. To see a woman weep is as much pity as to see foxes digged out of their holes. If thou wilt pleasure me, let me see thee less. Grieve much, they say grief often shortens life. Come not too near me till I call thee wife. And that will be but seldom, I will tell thee. How thou shalt win my heart, die suddenly, and I'll become a lusty widower. The longer thy life lasts, the more my hate and loathing still increaseth towards thee. When I come home and find thee cold as earth, then will I love thee. Thus thou knowest my mind. Come, Master Lusam, let us in to dine.
Oh, sir, you too much affect this evil. Poor saint, why wert thou yoked thus with a devil?
Exeunt young Arthur and young Lusam.
If thou wilt win my heart, die suddenly. But that my soul was bought at such a rate, at such a high price as my Saviour's blood, I would not stick to lose it with a stab. But virtue, banish all such fantasies. He is my husband, and I love him well. Next to my own soul's health, I tender him, and would give all the pleasures of the world to buy his love, if I might purchase it. I'll follow him, and like a servant wait, and strive by all means to prevent his hate.
Exit Mistress Arthur. Enter Old Master Arthur and Old Master Lusam.
This is my son's house. Were it best go in? How say you, Master Lusam?
How? Go in? How say you, sir?
I say 'tis best.
Aye, sir, say you so? So say I too.
Nay, nay, it is not best. I'll tell you why. Haply the fire of hate is quite extinct from the dead embers. Now to rake them up, should the least spark of discontent appear, to make the flame of hatred burn afresh. The heat of this dissension might scorch us, which, in his own cold ashes smothered up, may die in silence and revive no more. And therefore tell me, is it best or no?
How say you, sir?
I say it is not best.
Mass, you say well, sir, and so say I too.
But shall we lose our labour to come hither, and without sight of our 2 children go back again? Nay, we will in, that's sure.
In, quotha? Do you make a doubt of that? Shall we come thus far, and in such post-haste, and have our children here, and both within, and not behold them ere our back return? It were unfriendly and unfatherly. Come, Master Arthur, pray you follow me.
Nay, but hark you, sir. Will you not knock?
Is't best to knock?
Aye, knock in any case.
'Twas well you put it in my mind to knock. I'd forgotten it else, I promise you.
Tush, is't not my son's and your daughter's door? And shall we too stand knocking? Lead the way.
Knock at our children's doors? Oh, that were a jest. Are we such fools to make ourselves so strange, where we should still be boldest? In for shame! We will not stand upon such ceremonies. And exit. Yes, the double act continues. It's like we have proper scene, and then they're just wheeled on to do their business and their shtick, because as of yet they're not actually properly engaging with the rest of the plot so far. Okay, this scene is doing a lot of stuff. And yeah, Arthur's quite an arsehole, isn't he? Because Mistress Arthur is really trying. She is doing everything to accommodate his arseholery and absolutely giving no quarters at all. It's that thing of, he comes in and he's just not going to talk to her. And gets the line, "I will break this ice of courtesy." And yeah, it just gets worse and worse and worse. I mean, they're not sleeping together. Alexandra.
I mean, not to say that might have something to do with it, but the thing I found really interesting was there seems to be an employment of tropes that we usually see in people who have not yet married, in a lover that is pursuing a lover that does not love them. Mm-hmm. So it's really interesting that this is, they're stuck together, and nevertheless she's going, "I will make every effort. I will follow you anywhere. Just go ahead and love anyone else, but say you love me." Or I think there's a point where in the same speech where she's basically saying, if you want to go have affairs, you go and do that. Yeah. If you don't like the sound of me being your wife, I'll be your servant instead. It's highly subservient, but it's also, as I said, it's very interesting that it resembles those kind of unmarried lovers' promises and professions of adoration. The other thing I was going to point out, which I've now lost in the script, sorry, you can go ahead with someone else. I'll find it.
Yeah, I was going to say, because there's more emotional intelligence to what's going on with Mistress Arthur than, because she does spend a moment just going, "I'd really like to kill him." But that is a daydream. That is a fantasy, and walks away from that notion. So it's not like a patient Griselle, in the same way of just being this virtuous figure who's standing there being virtuous while someone's just being a total arsehole. There is this, how do you deal with this situation when you are yoked to an arsehole like this? And actually, where do you go from that? I'll go to Alexandra, then Briony, then Lynn. I think Elizabeth might have waved as well. Lots of people are waving. Everyone's waving. Alexandra first.
Yes, so I found it. It was, "If thou wilt win my heart, die suddenly." And then she says, "I would not stick to lose my soul with a stab," which could mean kill him, or it could mean kill herself. And I was wondering about that. And the other thing in the script that I was trying to find is she calls Lusam a stranger, which might resolve the thing we were discussing earlier.
Yeah, is it just a coincidence of names? What is the relationship between Lusam and Lusam? Because he's talking about that's very odd. Briony, then Lynn, then Elizabeth.
Yeah, just that his response to her bending over backwards, trying every which way to make him happy is just die. And I don't know if we've ever seen anything as harsh as that. In terms of, I know we've seen lots of horrible dysfunctional relationships and things, but I don't recall ever seeing one where he has just literally said to, and not, like you say, not to some fawning admirer, but to his actual wife, the only thing you can do to make me happy is die.
Lynn.
Yeah, I don't think that Mistress Arthur is contemplating homicide. She's contemplating suicide. I disagree with that interpretation. That when she says but that my soul was bought at such a rate and such a high price as my Savior's blood, I would not stick to lose it with a stab. Suicide was always a damnable act, whereas murder might be forgiven. So she's talking about killing herself, not killing her husband.
Elizabeth.
Yeah, the thing about Lusam, it's like he's got that name, but evidently she's never met him before. So that's we'll see how that shakes out.
Yeah, Elizabeth.
Yeah, I was just going to echo what Briony said about like this die already kind of thing. I think that when we first meet Arthur, he's horrible and he's difficult, and we can give him the benefit of a doubt. But now we kind of get to see, that's the type of person he is. Because he doesn't just say it once, he reiterates it. He says, like, if I come home to find you cold, then I'll be happy with you. And it just struck me as a sense of like, these arranged marriages were very, very difficult because the only way to get out of them was to die. There was no like commonplace divorce like we have now. So it was really, you talk about being yoked together. And I just felt very sorry for Mistress Arthur because she's really trapped within this marriage. And now he's saying that I would rather you be dead. And I was wondering, oh no, is Arthur going to have these ideas of killing Mistress Arthur? Because her death is obviously on his mind.
On a lighter note, just briefly pop back to Pipkin, the young servant figure whose belly wambles. I always love a wambling belly in a servant. But yes, just a little gloss on what a pipkin is. It's an earthenware pot of some description. So when he's talking about being cracked and a pipkin is soon broken, a pipkin is something that is in danger of being broken. So there's the little wordplay there on pipkin, which not necessarily everyone's going to pick up on. It's a nice little exchange, and it also establishes the locale really firmly. So Arthur is off at the exchange, so we're in London. This is a city folk situation. We've had plays with people, wives waiting for their husbands to come back from the exchange before. So this is not an unknown scenario as well, even in other plays as well. Alan, then Briony.
Yeah, I'm so far, and I mean, it may well be that it will change radically as we go on, but I'm almost seeing the two old boys as being the comedy double act.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
They're so far it's two experienced clowns, and it's almost playing after you Claude, no after you Cecil. And Lusam definitely does seem to be a bit of a tabula rasa. Well, what did you say? Yes, I'll agree with you. Even when Arthur has sort of done a 180-degree handbrake turn, he's still on board with it.
It's an interesting question of precisely what the game is between those. We were discussing that earlier. I still don't think we have a precise answer on who's provoking whom, or are they both just utterly lost into the way they change direction? Briony, then Alexandra, and then we will move on.
Yeah, just to agree with Alan, I like that we've got the duo of the old boys who can't make a decision between them, and that we've got the very familiar but easily lovable, hungry servant trope to kind of offset how dark and awful the main story, the core of this story, has started off already.
And of course, we haven't really found out. In a sense, this scene hasn't advanced the plot per se more than the first scene has. All it's done is sort of filled in the gaps and given us a sense of the emotional situation. But in a sense, plot-wise, we haven't moved any forward. We haven't, as of yet, found out precisely who Anselm and Fuller are discussing in their first scene. We may get that data in a moment. Alexandra.
I just wanted to point out how this is a very inverted situation, a bunch of kind of characterizations with respect to Commedia dell'arte. You have the two young lovers who are not lovers, the two young people who are not pining after each other, they're stuck together, and you have the two older men who are the fathers who are not throwing their weight around and kind of imposing the marriage, but instead trying to reconcile them. And the hungry servant is the only kind of recognizable straight rendition of something, but I'm interested in seeing if maybe that gets subverted as well.
Okay, let's move on and gather more data as we go into Act 1, Scene 3. Enter Anselm and Fuller.
Speak, in what cue, sir, do you find your heart now thou hast slept a little on thy love?
Like one that strives to shun a little plash of shallow water and, avoiding it, plunges into a river past his depths. Like one that from a small spark steps aside and falls in headlong to a greater flame.
But in such fires scorch not thyself, for shame, if she be fire, thou art so far from burning that thou hast scarce yet warmed thee at her face. But list to me, I'll turn thy heart from love, and make thee loathe all of the feminine sex. They that have known me knew me once of name to be a perfect wencher. I have tried all sorts, all sects, all states, and find them still inconstant, fickle, always variable. Attend me, man. I will prescribe a method how you shall win her without all peradventure.
No, that I would gladly hear.
I was once like thee, a sire, melancholy humorist, crosser of arms, a goer without garters, a hat-band hater, and a busk-point wearer, one that did much use bracelets made of hair, rings on my fingers, jewels in mine ear, and now and then a wench's carcanet, scarfs, garters, bands, wrought waistcoats, gold-stitched caps, 1,000 of those female fooleries. But when I looked into the glass of reason, straight I began to loathe that female bravery, and henceforth studied to cry Piccavi to the world.
I pray you to your former argument. Prescribe a means to win my best beloved.
First, be not bashful. Bar all blushing tricks. Be not too apish female. Do not come with foolish sonnets to present with her, with legs, with curtsies, congees, and such like, nor with penned speeches, or too far-fetched sighs. I hate such antic, quaint formality.
Oh, but I cannot snatch occasion. She dashes every proffer with a frown.
A frown? Fool, art thou afraid of frowns? He that will leave occasion for a frown, were I his judge, all you his case bemoan, his doom should be ever to lie alone.
I cannot choose, but when a wench says nay, to take her at her word, leave my suit.
Continue that opinion, and be sure to die a virgin chaste, a maiden pure. It was my chance once, in my wanton days, to court a wench. Hearken, I'll tell thee how. I came unto my love, and she looked coy. I spake unto my love, she looked aside. I touched my love, and began with her to toy, but she sat mute, for anger or for pride. I strived and kissed my love. She cried, Away! Thou wouldst have left her thus. I made her stay. I catched my love and wrung her by the hand. I took my love and set her on my knee and pulled her to me. "Oh, you spoil my band, you hurt me, sir, pray let me go," quoth she. "I'm glad," quoth I, "that you have found your tongue, and still my love I by the finger wrung. I asked her if she loved me, she said no. I bade her swear, she straight calls for a book. Nay then, thought I, 'tis time to let her go. I eased my knee, and from her cast a look. She leaves me wondering at these strange affairs, and like the wind she tripped me up the stairs. I left the room below, and up I went, finding her thrown upon her wanton bed. I asked the cause of her sad discontent. Further she lies, and making room, she said, "Now, sweeting, kiss me, having time and place," so clings me to her with a sweet embrace.
Is it possible? I'd not thought till now the woman could dissemble. Master Fuller, here dwells the sacred mistress of my heart. Before her door I'll frame a frivolous walk, and spying her, with her devise some talk.
Enter young Master Arthur, Mistress Arthur, Old Master Arthur, Old Master Lusam, Young Master Lusam, and Pipkin.
What stir is this? Let's step but out the way, and hear the utmost what these people say.
And indeed they do step to one side, as the rest of the cast say some words.
"Thou art a knave, although thou be my son. Have I with care and trouble brought thee up to be a staff and comfort to my age, a pillar to support me, and a crutch to lean on in my second infancy. And dost thou use me thus? Thou art a knave."
A knave, I marry, and an arrant knave, and sirrah, by old Master Arthur's leave, though I be weak and old, I'll prove thee one.
Sir, though it be my father's pleasure thus to wrong me with the scorned name of knave, I will not have you so familiar, nor so presume upon my patience.
Speak, Master Arthur, is he not a knave?
"I say he's a knave."
Then so say I.
My father may command my patience, but you, sir, that are but my father-in-law, shall not so mock my reputation. Sir, you shall find I am an honest man.
An honest man?
Aye, sir, so I say.
Nay, if you say so, I'll not be against it. But, sir, you might have used my daughter better than to have beat her, spurned her, railed at her before our faces.
"Aye, therein, son Arthur, thou showedst thyself no better than a knave."
Ay, marry, did he? I will stand to it. To use my honest daughter in such sort, he showed himself no better than a knave.
I say again, I am an honest man. He wrongs me that shall say the contrary.
I grant, sir, that you are an honest man, nor will I say unto the contrary. But wherefore do you use my daughter thus? Can you accuse her of unchastity, of loose demeanour, disobedience, or disloyalty? Speak! What canst thou object against my daughter?
"Accuse her. Here she stands. Spit in her face if she be guilty in the least of these."
"Oh, father, be more patient. If you wrong my honest husband, all the blame be mine, because you do it only for my sake. I am his handmaid, since it is his pleasure to use me thus. I am content therewith, and bear his checks and crosses patiently."
If in mine own house I can have no peace, I'll seek it elsewhere, and frequent it less. Father, I'm now past 21 years. I'm past my father's pampering. I suck not, nor am I dandled on my mother's knee. Then, if you were my father 20 times, you shall not choose, but let me be myself. Do I come home so seldom, and that seldom am I thus baited? Wife, remember this. Father, farewell, and father-in-law, adieu. Your son had rather fast than feast with you.
Exit young Arthur.
"Well, go to, wild oats, spendthrift, prodigal. I'll cross thy name quite from my reckoning book. For these accounts, faith, it shall scathe thee somewhat. I will not say what somewhat it shall be.
And it shall scathe him somewhat of my purse. And, daughter, I will take thee home again, since thus he hates thy fellowship. Be such an eyesore to his sight no more. I tell thee, thou no more shalt trouble him.
Will you divorce whom God hath tied together, or break that knot that sacred hand of heaven made fast betwixt us? Have you never read what a great curse was laid upon his head that breaks the holy band of marriage, divorcing husbands from their chosen wives? Father, I will not leave my Arthur so. Not all my friends can make me prove his foe.
I could say somewhat in my son's reproof,
Faith, so could I.
but till I meet him, I will let it pass.
Faith, so will I.
Daughter, farewell. With weeping eyes I part. Witness these tears, thy grief sits near my heart.
Weeps Master Arthur. Oh, nay, then, let me cry. His cheeks shall not be wet and mine be dry.
Fathers, farewell. Spend not a tear for me, but for my husband's sake let these woes be. For when I weep, 'tis not for my own care, but fear lest folly bring him to despair.
Exeunt old Arthur and old Lusam.
Sweet saint, continue still this patience, for time will bring him to true penitence. Mirror of virtue, thanks for my good cheer, 1,000 thanks.
It is so much too dear, but you are welcome, for my husband's sake. His guests shall have best welcome I can make.
Than marriage, nothing in the world more common, and nothing more rare than such a virtuous woman.
Exit young Lusam.
My husband in this humour, well I know, plays but the unthrift. Therefore it behooves me to be the better housewife here at home, to save and get whilst he doth laugh and spend. Though for himself he riots it at large, my needle shall defray my household's charge.
And she sits down to work in front of the house. And change of hats. Alexandra becomes Fuller.
Now, Master Anselm, to her, step not back, bustle yourself, see where she sits at work, be not afraid, man, she's but a woman, and women the most cowards seldom fear. Think but upon my former principles, £20 to a drachm, you speed.
I say so.
To beware of blushing, sirrah, of fear, and too much eloquence. Rail on her husband, his misusing her, and make that serve thee as an argument that she may sooner yield to do him wrong. Were it my case, my love and I to plead, I have at fingers' ends. Who could miss the clout, having so fair a white, such steady aim? This is the upshot. Now bid for the game!
Now, Anselm advances, but for the rest of the scene, I'm going to pass Mistress Arthur to somebody else, keeping Alexandra as Fuller. I think, Briony, I think you are free, so if you could read Mistress Arthur as we go forward. So, Anselm advances, Fuller in support.
Fair mistress, God save you.
What a circumstance does he begin with? What an ass is he to tell her at the first that she is fair, the only means to make her to be coy. He should have rather told her she was foul, and brought her out of love quite with herself, and being so, she would the less have cared upon whose secrets she had laid her love. He hath almost marred all with that word fair.
Mistress, God save you.
What a block is that to say God save you? Is the fellow mad? Wants to name God in his ungodly suit.
You are welcome, sir. Come you to speak with me, or with my husband? Pray you, what's your will?
She answers to the purpose. What's your will? Oh, zoons, that I were there to answer her.
Mistress, my will is not so soon expressed without your special favour and the promise of love and pardon if I speak amiss.
Yes, oh, gods. blockhead that has left the plain broad highway and the readiest path to travel round about by circumstance. He might have told his meaning in a word, and now hath lost his opportunity. Never was such a truant in love's school. I am ashamed that e'er I was his tutor.
Sir, you may speak freely. You may freely speak, whate'er it be, so that your speech suiteth with modesty.
To this now could I answer passing well.
Mistress, I, pitying that so fair a creature
Still fair, and yet I warned the contrary.
should be by a villain, be so foully used as you have been.
As you have been, aye, that was well put in.
If time and place were both convenient, have made this bold intrusion to present my love and service to your sacred self.
Indifferent, that was not so much amiss.
Sir, what you mean by service and by love, I will not know, but what you mean by villain, I fain would know.
That villain is your husband, whose wrongs towards you are bruited through the land. Oh, can you suffer at a peasant's hand, unworthy once to touch this silken skin, to be so rudely beat and buffeted? Can you endure from such infectious breath, ability to plant your beauty, to have names, as such empoisoned hate flung in your face?
Oh, that was good. Nothing was good but that. That was the lesson that I taught him last.
Oh, can you hear your never tainted fame, wounded with words of shame and infamy? Oh, can you see your pleasures dealt away, and you to be debarred in all parts of them, and bury it in deep oblivion? Shall your true right be still contributed amongst hungry boards, insatiate courtesans? And can you love that villain, by whose deed your soul does sigh and your distressed heart bleed?
All this as well as I could wish myself.
Sir, I have heard thus long with patience. If it be me you term a villain's wife, in sooth you have mistook me all this while, and neither know my husband nor myself, or else you know not man and wife is one. If he be called a villain, what is she whose heart and love and soul is one with him? 'Tis pity that so fair a gentleman should fall into such villain's company. Oh, sir, take heed if you regard your life, meddle not with a villain or his wife.
Exit Mistress Arthur.
That same word villain hath marred all.
Now, where's your instruction? Where's the wench? Where are my hopes? Where your directions?
Why, man, in that word villain you marred all. To come unto an honest wife and call her husband villain, were he ne'er so bad, thou mightst well think she would not brook thy name for that name for her own credit, though no love to him. But leave not thus, but try some other mean. Let not one way thy hopes make frustrate clean.
I must persist my love against my will. He that knows all things knows I prove this will.
And they exit. Once again, a whole series of things going on here that are depressingly modern, actually. I mean, we've got Fuller, who is doing his full pickup artist, negging thing to go. Oh, don't compliment her. No. Do her down as you first approach, because that'll put her in a bad place and move on. Fuller, who's full of stories about consent, which is eek. And yeah, it's he's just so toxic to Anselm, who, he's trying. I mean, he's not inherently a bad person, but he's definitely trying the wrong person and the wrong approach. Even though maybe we're all sitting here thinking, Mistress Arthur, have an affair. You're because you're worth it. Though whether he's the guy for that, who knows. So yeah, and then of course in the middle of it we had Old Lussam doing his gig that we love. I mean, yeah. So many thoughts. I'll go to Briony, then Lynn.
Yeah, I really don't get Miss Arthur at all. Like, if she's subservient and that's it, then she should be that. But now she's got some wit and some power to tell what's his face that she's not interested. But I don't know. I just don't really understand her character at all at this point.
I think she's always had wit. I think this is something that's genuinely hard for us to appreciate. Is that if you are brought up, you know, in the way of early modern virtue, is that, you know, she's got no out from this situation, because she's in this marriage. She believes in the institution of marriage. She believes all those things, and she's miserable. But she's still going to do all the good things that are considered good things. And what Anselm is suggesting is as abhorrent as what her husband is suggesting. I mean, you know, in many ways. And it's really genuinely hard, I think, for us to get into that mindset, because, you know, I think she's always had wit. I think she's written as an intelligent person. She's not a patient Griselle at all. You know, there is an interior life to her. It's just, it's a really difficult position to take. But others may disagree on this point. Lynn?
No, I essentially actually agree. Although I think that perhaps Mistress Arthur she's a character in a play, so I think she's idealized. This is the ideal. This is the social ideal. This is what the values of the culture would consider perfect. You know, Lusam calls her a saint. That not only is she absolutely committed to her marriage, as miserable as her husband makes her, she's immovable on that point, but she's also accomplished and desirable and admirable in other ways. She's attractive. We hear she's whip smart. She's like, well, if he's a villain, then I'm a villain, because men and women are, a man and his wife are one flesh. And so someone as, you know, cool as you shouldn't be associating with villains. Get the fuck out of my house. So, you know, so she's just sort of everything. She's all that. So I think she's kind of an ideal. I don't know that even raised in the early modern culture, anyone would be able to achieve this ideal. She's a character in a play, but yeah, she's sort of a whether or not we try to make her a real person or an ideal, she's a product of the culture's values.
I had another thought and I've lost it. I left it down the back of the sofa. It was definitely there. I had it a moment ago.
Scooterate it.
Go to Alexandra while I hunt for it.
I just wanted to point out what I've said in the chat, which is I feel as though she has strength as a character. She hasn't got power. The only ways in which she could change her situation are ways that are unvirtuous, right? She gets the opportunity to effectively divorce him, and she says no. She gets the opportunity to cheat on him. She says no. You know, she's got suicide as an option, which always exists as an option. She says no, because for various reasons, those things are unacceptable to her virtue. So she hasn't got anything that she can do in order to change her circumstances, other than the thing she is doing, which is comply, to excess. But she has got strength. She knows what she wants. She wants to stay in the marriage and make it work.
Yeah, I mean, actually, she's got more than the option of a divorce by the looks of it. She's got the room for an annulment, actually, because she's intimating that they'd never actually slept together, that he refuses her bed.
I missed that.
You know, there is an out potentially there, and of course, where is the plot going to go? That's an interesting question, because again, the other thing is this scene is we've been here. We've had this scene before, more than once, I think, of wife waiting for husband to come back from the exchange or similar, and someone coming up and doing a wooing. And the fact you've also got Fuller, for all his horribleness in many ways. I mean, I think the play is trying to present him as witty and a knowing, slightly older friend, but of course he just comes across to us as just awful. But he does have this sort of this running commentary element to Anselm's attempts at wooing that is quite interesting. I mean, I think the way the scene is structured is quite clever. It's just we don't think of the characters in the way that the author did, and therefore the scene sort of lands in a very different way. Lynn?
Now, maybe I'm wrong about this, but didn't Fuller in his asides at one point basically say, "Oh, villain, that's good. Call her husband a villain." And then later on, he's like, "You shouldn't have called her husband a villain." It's a bit of a Old Lussam act. It's just like he has no core, he has no integrity. He just keeps saying, he keeps changing his mind. So that I kind of like that because it undermines him even in the early modern context. Is like he talks a good game, but really he doesn't know what he's talking about.
Yeah, I don't think we're supposed to admire him. I think there might be, even in the period, there might be a sort of sense of, he's a bit too cool for school quality to him. Obviously, we just don't like him. But, there is a little bit of that in the original sort of probable interpretation. Alan, then Alexandra.
Yeah, I must admit I'm seeing Fuller in a sort of rather loud check jacket and non-matching bow tie. And standard saloon bar bore.
Alexandra.
There are people who do this on the internet right now.
Yeah.
There are people who, and not just on the internet, but sort of hold, practically symposia on the subject. And so I think in a modern production, you could really lean into the idea of this guy who is so charming and seems to have all the answers, and they are abusive. The solutions are abusive towards the person that you are trying to win, as it were. But there are lots of people who fall for that, who are in the other man's position. So I think it would be very interesting to see a play from 400 years ago that has somebody behave in that way, and also deconstructs that actually, look, he said do the thing, and then the minute that the thing went wrong, he turned around and went, I told you not to do the thing. Yes, if you start analyzing this shit, it's shit.
Yeah, he is this pickup artist 400 years before. You're right, there's this, it's a thing. There are people who sell books and do tours and symposia. Less so now. It's become a lot harder for them to do that, but they're still out there. And a young chap like Anselm probably buys into that. And it's a question of how corrupted has his soul been. It's weird because there's part of me going, this play is landing as very modern, just not quite in the way the author originally probably intended. But in a strange way, the problem with the play is actually our favourite characters, because they're tonally so out of step with how the rest of the play is landing, because it's coming across as actually quite a serious drama with occasional random comedy characters rather than a pleasant comedy, or however it's described at the top, pleasant conceited comedy. So yeah, there's something here that is really interesting. Anyway, we should move on and get a few more scenes in before we close the session. So, Act 2, Scene 1. I've no idea if these are accurate descriptions, or these are later editors have put these in. Act 2, Scene 1. Enter Aminadab with a rod in his hand, and boys with their books.
Come boys, rehearse your parts, and then ad prandium, jam, incipe.
Sooth, my lesson's torn out of my book.
Quae carceris cartis de suris decet. Torn from your book. I'll tear it from your breech. How say you, Mistress Virga, will you suffer hic puer bone indolus to tear his lessons, leaves and lectures from his book?
Truly, forsooth, I laid it in my seat while Robin Glade and I went into the campus. And when I came again, my book was torn.
Oh, a mouse! Was ever heard the like?
Oh, Thomas, a house. Master, I could not mend it.
Oh, pediculus, a louse. I knew not how it came.
All toward boys, good scholars of their times. The least of these is past his accidents. Some at qui mihi. Here's not a boy, but he can construe all the grammar rules. Sed ubi sunt sodales? Not yet come. Those tarde venientes shall be whipped. Ubi est Pipkin? Where is the lazy knave? He plays the truant every Saturday. But Mistress Virga, Lady Willoughby, shall teach him that diluculo sugere et saluberrimum. Here comes the knave.
Enter Pipkin.
Tarde.
Tarde.
Hook ades Pipkin, reach a better rod. Cur tam tarde venis? Speak, where have you been all this time? And is this the time of day to come to school? Ubi fuisti? Speak, where hast thou been?
Magister, quomodo vales?
Is that responsio fitting my demand?
Etiam certe. You ask me where I have been, and I say quomodo vales, as much as to say, come out of the alehouse.
Untrust. Nay, help him.
Queso preceptor queso. For God's sake, do not whip me. Quid est grammatica?
Not whip you, quid est grammatica. What's that?
Grammatica est that. If I untrust, you must needs whip me upon them. Quid est grammatica?
Why then, dic mihi, speak, where hast thou been?
Forsooth, my mistress sent me of an errand to fetch my master from the exchange. We had strangers at home at dinner, and but for them I had not come tarde. Queso preceptor.
Construe your lesson, pass it ad unguem et condemnato tu. I'll pardon thee.
That I will, master, and if you'll give me leave.
Propria quae maribus tribuntur mascula dicas expone.
Construe it, master, I will. Dicas, they say, propria, the proper man, quae maribus, that loves marrow bones, mascula, miscalled me.
A pretty quaint and new construction.
I warrant you, master, if there be marrow bones in my lesson, I am an old dog at them. How construe you this, master rostra desertus amat?
Desertus, a dessert. Amat doth love, rostra roast meat.
A good construction on an empty stomach. Master, now I have construed my lesson, my mistress would pray you to let me come home and go of an errand.
Your tres sequuntur and away.
Canis a hog, rana a dog, porcus a frog, abinundum est mihi.
Exit Pipkin.
Yours, Sirrah, too, and then ad prandium.
Apis a B, genu a knee, vulcanus Dr. D, viginti minus usus es mihi.
By Juno's lip and Saturn's thumb, it was bonus bona bonum.
Vitrum glass spica grass. Tu est asinus. You are an ass. Precortivi felicem noctem.
Claudite jam libros pueri sat prata bibistis. Look, when you come again, you tell me ubi fuistis. He that minds trish trash and will not have a care of his rodix, him will I be lish lash and have a fling at his podix.
Exeunt, boys. Enter young Master Arthur.
Pretty wench, a passing pretty wench, a sweeter duck all London cannot yield. She cast a glance on me as I passed by, not heaven had so ravishing an eye. Here is the pedant, Sir Aminadab. I will inquire of him if he can tell, by any circumstance, whose wife she is. Such fellows commonly have intercourse without suspicion. Where we are debarred. God save you, gentle Sir Aminadab.
Salve tu quoque, would you speak with me? You are, I take it, and let me not lie, for, as you know, mentiri known as meum, young Master Arthur. Quid vis? What will you?
You are a man I much rely upon. There is a pretty wench dwells in this street, that keeps no shop, nor is not public known. At the 2 posts, next turning of the lane, I saw her from a window looking out. Oh, could you tell me how to come acquainted with that sweet lass? You should command me, sir, even to the utmost of my life and power.
Bonny, 'tis my love he means. But I will keep it from this gentleman, and so I hope make trial of my love.
If I obtain her, thou shalt win thereby more than this time, I will promise thee.
Quando venis apud, I shall have 2 horns on my caput.
What, if a husband come and find one there?
Nunquam time, never fear. She is unmarried, I swear. But if I help you to the deed, to vis narrare how you speed.
Tell how I speed. Aye, sir, I will to you. Then presently about it. Many thanks for this great kindness, Sir Aminadab.
Exit Arthur.
If my puella prove a drab, I'll be revenged on both. Ambo shall die. By what? For ego I have never handled, I thank God, another weapon than a rod. I dare not fight for all my speeches. Sed cave, if I take him thus, ego sum expers at untrust.
Exit Aminadab. Wow, that is a very fun and a very clever scene. It's clever because you don't need to know Latin to get most of the jokes. There are some really clever bits in that as well, but we are on the level of you are an ass. And it's the rhyming. We're introducing to a new plot strand. Arthur fancies somebody else, and who is Aminadab's interest himself. So he's asking the wrong person for help here. But yeah, it is full of some really clever jokes, some really nice stuff. And also this is the kind of boy learning Latin thing that we normally expect from a boys' company, and this isn't a boys' company at all. So that's nice to see. It's not just Lily being clever, or whoever being clever. Other people can do this kind of scene as well. Briony.
I think that's probably the best aged Latin scene that I've ever experienced personally. Because like you say, it still lands now. And yes, there's stuff that we get. There's more that we'd get out of it if we knew more Latin, but it still lands. And I know it's something that, like you say, it happens a lot. The pedant with his boys and the Latin. We've seen it so many times, but now I kind of get it.
And it is, the boy just comes in and says, have you done your homework? No, sorry, a dog ate my homework, sir. It got ripped out. I don't know how it happened. And you're just going, oh, well, that's a classic. And now we know it's a 400-year plus classic at the very least. I'm sure there's probably versions of this in antiquity. But, it is delightful. And I say most of the jokes do land, and I say there's also other sort of clever things in there that I'm sure actually once you actually unpack the Latin in rehearsal to get where all the jokes land, there's more to be got. Lynn.
This is the first play from this period where I've seen a young man who is a student with a part-time job. Usually, someone is a household servant. That's his track in life. That's his class destiny. Or he's a student who has higher aspirations. It's really unusual, I think, for a boy to try to be juggling both, to be a student and answerable to a Latin master, but also trying to be a page in a middle-class household. That's just very odd. I'm not sure what to make of it.
Yeah, I mean, it sort of reminds me of, the kind of juggling work and study thing that you get more in higher education today. It's a really nice thing. Look, I'm late because I had work and I couldn't avoid it, and you're now going to beat me? What's wrong with you? And all that stuff. So that lands in another interesting way. I'm quite liking that. Briony.
Plus the sheer cheek of, I'm sorry I'm late, I had to work. Also, please can I leave early to go to work?
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. I don't know about in the UK, but I teach at a community college, and almost all my students work. And I have one who works for a florist, and it was Mother's Day here in the US, so she worked like 70 hours last week, plus trying to go to school. It's just like, oh, we're not setting you up to fail or anything.
Yeah. So yeah, again, delightful scene, lots of stuff, but also setting up Arthur has other ideas going on here. So it's not just that he doesn't like his wife; he's got ideas on somebody else who Aminadab, who also has interest in. So this is now feeling like a comedy. This feels like a comedy setup, and in fact, the way the verse we got rhymed verse here suddenly as well. We've got very different vocal tics going on here. It feels very different all of a sudden. Alexandra, then Alan.
I just want to point out that for all the fun in this scene, Aminadab, oh, for goodness sake, him, that one,
Mindy, call me Mindy,
refers to himself as an expert at untrusts. And has a name for his rod. So basically, his main professional occupation is the beating of these boys.
Yeah.
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 Yes, and even in those days, you the people, tutors of all sorts could get a very bad rep for over beating their charges. There is actually a limit to how much you can instill that kind of physical punishment. Alan, then Lynn.
Yeah, I mean it's nice to get a scene which has got more than one track, because you've got the comedy elements, you've got a satire on education, because I'm getting the impression that Aminadab is not necessarily a particularly good teacher, but you're also getting the introduction of the plot line relating to Arthur lusting after somebody else. It's very, very deftly done.
Because it could just be a random interlude, couldn't it? If we didn't have that weaved in, but we're introducing a new character who is going to do something in the plot later on, which is cool. Lynn, then Briony, then we must move on.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to pin down the whole corporal punishment question. It was quite normative. It was considered necessary. Parents and schoolmasters were expected to use corporal punishment, although around this time, Roger Ascham, who was Queen Elizabeth's tutor and a sort of what we would call a pedagogical theorist, was critical of that practice and said that praise and kindness do more good, which teachers now would probably agree, and overly overly zealous child beaters were mocked in the culture at large, but it was normal to use corporal punishment. So it's like, there's like a lot of conflicting discourse in the period about physical punishment.
Yes, I mean, the 150 years earlier, there's a play called Occupation and Idleness, where the central message of the story is, child needs to learn, beat the crap out of him until he has given up all resistance to your will. And that's the moral of the story, thank you very much. And it's nice to see that, a little later on, there is some questioning of that point on some level. And also, I get the impression that Arthur is an ex-student, because the way, because it's one of those lessons where Aminadab says, we are going to speak Latin for the whole lesson, apart from occasional glosses, and he still does that when an adult comes in the room. He starts a line with a bit of Latin and then sort of says it in English, or follows the thought. So it's like he just can't stop himself, can he? Being that sort of that kind of teacher. Briony.
Just to say that a lot of the times when we've seen this kind of scene in other plays, it has been a random interlude. Rather than something that's progressing the story.
I mean, there is a little bit of random interludiness into it, but it's just the right level, just that soup's on to make it exciting, and but then we get on with the plot. Anyway, we have one more scene to do this session. Act 2, Scene 2. Enter Justice Reason. Interesting name. Old Master Arthur, Old Master Lusam, Mistress Arthur, Young Master Lusam, and Hugh.
We, Master Justice Reason, come about a serious matter that concerns us near.
Ay, marry doth it, sir, concern us near. Would God, sir, you would take some order for it.
Why, look ye, Master Lusam, you are such another. You will be talking what concerns us near, and know not why we come to Master Justice.
How? No, not I?
No, sir, not you.
Well, I know somewhat, though I know not that. Then on, I pray you.
Forward, I pray. And yet the case is plain.
Why, sir, as yet you do not know the case.
Well, he knows somewhat. Forward, Master Arthur.
And, as I told you, my unruly son, once having bid his wife home to my house, there took occasion to be much aggrieved about some household matters of his own, and, in plain terms, they fell in controversy.
'Tis true, sir, I was there the self-same time, and I remember many of the words.
Lord, what a man are you! You were not there that time. As I remember, you were rid down to the north to see some friends of yours.
Well, I was somewhere. Forward, Master Arthur.
All this is well. No fault is to be found in either of the parties. Pray, say on.
Why, sir, I have not named the parties yet, nor touched the fault that is complained upon.
Well, you touched somewhat. Forward, Master Arthur.
And, as I said, they fell in controversy. My son, not like a husband, gave her words of great reproof, despite and contumely, which she, poor soul, digested patiently. This was the first time of their falling out. As I remember, at the self-same time, one Thomas, the Earl of Surrey's gentleman, dined at my table.
Oh, I knew him well.
You are the strangest man. This gentleman that I speak of, I am sure you never saw. He came but lately from beyond the sea.
I'm sure I know one Thomas. Forward, sir.
And is this all? Make me a mittimus, and send the offender straightways to the jail.
First, know the offender. Now began the strife betwixt this gentlewoman and my son, since when, sir, he hath used her not like one that should partake his bed, but like a slave. My coming was that you, being in office and in authority, should call before you my unthrift son to give him some advice, which he will take better from you than me, that am his father. Here's the gentlewoman, wife to my son and daughter to this man, whom I perforce compelled to live with us.
All this is well. Here is your son, you say, but she that is his wife you cannot find?
You do mistake, sir. Here's the gentlewoman. It is her husband that will not be found.
Well, all is one, for man and wife are one. But is this all?
Aye, all that you can say, and much more than you can well put off.
Nay, if the case appear thus evident, give me a cup of wine. What? Man and wife should disagree? I prithee, fill my cup. I could say somewhat, tut, tut. By this wine, I promise you 'tis good canary sack.
Fathers, you do me open violence to bring my name in question and produce this gentleman and others here to witness my husband's shame in open audience. What may my husband think when he shall know I went unto the justice to complain? But Master Justice here, more wise than you, says little to the matter, knowing well his office is no whit concerned herein. Therefore, with favour, I will take my leave.
The woman saith but reason, Master Arthur, and therefore give her license to depart.
Oh, here is dry justice, not a bidder's drink. Hark thee, my friend, I prithee lend thy cup. Now, Master Justice, hear me but one word. You think this woman hath had little wrong, but by this wine which I intend to drink...
Nay, save your oath. I pray you do not swear, or if you swear, take not too deep an oath.
Content you, I may take a lawful oath before a justice. Therefore, by this wine...
A profound oath, well sworn and deeply took. 'Tis better thus than swearing on a book.
My daughter hath been wronged exceedingly.
Oh, sir, I would have credited these words without this oath. But bring your daughter hither, that I may give her counsel ere you go.
Marry, God's blessing on your heart for that. Daughter, give ear to Justice Reason's words.
Good woman, or good wife, or mistress, if you have done amiss. It should seem you have done a fault, and making a fault, there's no question but you have done amiss. But if you walk uprightly, and neither lead to the right hand nor the left, no question but you have neither led to the right hand nor the left, but as the man should say, walked uprightly, but it should appear by these plaintiffs that you have had some wrong. If you love your spouse entirely, it should seem you affect him fervently, and if he hate you monstrously, it should seem he loathes you most exceedingly. And there's the point at which I will leave, for the time passes away. Therefore, to conclude, this is my best counsel. Look that thy husband so fall in, that hereafter you never fall out.
Good counsel, passing good instruction. Follow it, daughter. Now, I promise you, I've not heard such an oration this many a day. What remains to do?
Sir, I was called as a witness to this matter. I may be gone for all that I can see.
Nay, stay, my friend. We must examine you. What can you say concerning this debate betwixt young Master Arthur and his wife?
Faith, just as much I think as you can say, and that's just nothing.
How nothing? Come, depose him. Take his oath. Swear him, I say. Take his confession.
What can you say, sir, in this doubtful case?
Why, nothing, sir.
We cannot take him in contrary tales, for he says nothing still, and that same nothing is that which we have stood on all this while. He hath confessed even all, for all is nothing. This is your witness. He hath witnessed nothing, since nothing then so plainly is confessed, and we by cunning answers and by wit have wrought him to confess nothing to us. Write his confession.
Why, what should we write?
Why? Nothing. Heard you not as well as I what he confessed? I say, write nothing down. Mistress, we have dismissed you. Love your husband, which, whilst you do, you shall not hate your husband. Bring him before me. I will urge with this gentleman's express confession against you. Send him to me. I'll not fail to keep just nothing in my memory. And sir, now that we have examined you, we likewise here discharge you with good leave. Now, Master Arthur and Master Lusam too, come in with me, unless the man were here, whom most especially the cause concerns. We cannot end this quarrel, but come near, and we will taste a glass of our March beer.
Exeunt. Okay, I think we will taste a glass of our March beer, maybe a clue to what's going on with this judge, because this justice is all over the place in so many interesting ways. I mean, it's interesting going into verse there, the way the verse lines sort of end on a point that then shifts to a different direction the moment you cross over the line. And yeah, this justice does not want to make any kind of decisions. It's just yeah. This is quite a case. I'm not sure, to be fair, the plaintiffs precisely know what they're actually asking for beyond could you have a stern word with my son. It's not like there's actually they're presenting a case of law or anything to this justice. It's a really weird little scene. And Lusam, just the younger, just going, oh, for the love of God. Briony, then Alan, then Lynn.
Yeah, I think I'm trying to find the line now, but I think I've got the measure of old Arthur now. I think he is just written to be completely contrary. Because there was a moment when he said something about having having ridden down to the north. So at that point, I'm like, he is supposed to be completely at odds with everything, including himself. Just in the same way that I think this old justice is supposed to be a windbag who says lots, but actually none of it really means anything.
Yeah, absolutely. Old Arthur and Old Lussam are once again presenting really cogent, helpful exposition. I just love the way that Old Arthur's going, "You weren't there! Stop stepping in." He's going, "Oh yeah, I remember it well. Shh, you weren't there, you were somewhere else." Alan, then Lynn.
Yeah, I mean, on the one about riding down to the north, I mean, from a London-centric point of view, going anywhere else is going down to the country. So I'm not sure that there's a directional issue there. But I think the only decision that the justice is prepared to take is whether he wants one more bottle or two.
Yeah, I mean, it does seem to me that's why Old Lussam does the whole thing with the wine. It's like the judge is going, throughout the speech. Lynn.
Yeah, I think the point of this scene is just to make fun of the judiciary. Because just the justice speaks in, and I am blanking on the word. It's not paradox, but it's
Tautologies.
Tautologies. Yes, he's like all tautologies. Yeah, if it's true, it's true. It is what it is. So he goes on, and what he says is meaningless. Because as someone in the scene says, he doesn't really have jurisdiction here. If you have a domestic conflict and you want to seek intervention in this period, you go to the parish parson. You try to get that person to sort of run interference, and the rudimentary marriage counseling would not have been done by a justice. It would have been done by someone, a member of the clergy.
Yeah, and it's just the way the justice says, what can you say concerning this debate betwixt the young Master Arthur and his wife? And it's just as much as you can say, and that's nothing. And then the justice talks about nothing for 5 minutes. Elizabeth.
Write that nothing down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Write down nothing, yes. Bum, bum.
I like the fact that Justice Reason is called Reason, where he seems to be beside his own wits. He definitely seems and feels very drunk. And I just thought it's interesting that Old Lusam and Old Arthur go to him in the first place, because I'm sure he has a reputation of being a very unreasonable justice. I also thought this scene was really funny. I just thought the judge was hilarious. And I thought this was one of the first scenes in the narrative that I actually thought was actually laugh out loud hilarious.
Yeah, I think we're definitely moving more into comedy regions. With the previous scene with the boys and this with the judge, we've gone from situations where are much more uncomfortable to this where there's it's interesting. Mistress Arthur, of course, just basically going, "Don't tell everyone the problems with my marriage. You're now putting it in public on the public record." I mean, there's something quite awful about that. Alexandra, then Briony, then Alan, then Lynn.
Yeah, I also wanted to point out how her only line is, "This is embarrassing and I'm going." And also, it's really nicely set up how, again, the characters have very clear, sort of clearly delineated shtick, but it isn't the same as in their previous scenes exactly, and at the same time it doesn't depart very far. So Old Lussam has the, "Well, I know somewhat," "Well, he knows somewhat," "Go on, "Well, actually it was somewhere," "Go on. Which is not, it's just repeating the somewhat sort of gag without building the plot. But at the same time, it's a funny interruption. It's a fun thing. A fun thing that the justice is doing is clearly drinking while all of this is happening, to the extent where he asks for a cup of wine and for it to be filled, and then gets distracted by the wine. And then Lusam says, "Well, he's a dry justice not to bid the rest of us drink. Lend me thy cup." And then there's several lines of, "By this wine," wait, no, where is it gone? "Let me pour some more. By this wine." No, it's gone again, sort of stuff. that it's at the same time heartbreaking for the one person and hilarious in terms of everybody else's behavior, but it's bad behavior that would be condemned, just like the teacher with the rod. So that's what I'm finding strange about this, is that we've been laughing at it, and we've been laughing at the last few scenes, but where to place it?
I mean, it might be we're doing the justice and injustice, in that the justice might be drinking just to get through this kind of nonsense suit, because he has no jurisdiction over any of this. And you know, what's he going to say apart from, oh, let's just say some nonsense and get them out of the court and then I'll go for some refreshers. Briony, then Alan, then Lynn.
Yeah, and the one character who has remained quite elusive to us all the way through today's session is young Lusam. We still don't really know who he is. Everyone else, you know, the characters are quite clearly defined. Even the comedy ones, their shtick has been very well set up now. We know who's who. But Lusam, with the confusing name, still a mystery to us.
Yes, because he's clearly not actually related to Old Lussam, but he's got the same name, and it's really weird. I was just checking that it wasn't just some accidental typo that's crept into the script, and we've accidentally found and replaced somebody else's name who begins with L. But no, it is. It's his name, but he doesn't seem to be related at all. So it's very odd. I would change that name just to avoid that confusion in an audience, unless we're missing something that's going to be a surprise thing that happens at the end of the play. I don't know yet. Anyway, Alan.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. This scene and the previous one, we're almost getting into satire rather than what might be thought of as being a comedy, because you've got, first let's take the mick out of the educational system, and then let's take the mick out of the judiciary. I mean, both good long-standing targets and fairly soft targets at that. But you know, the drunk judge and the cane happy pedant, you know, are stock characters, and I'm pretty sure you'd find them if you went back to, you know, Plautus or similar classical models.
Maybe.
So it may be there's some games going on in that area as well.
It's interesting because they are building a world in which they all live with a very small palette of characters. This is a play that doesn't actually have that many characters in it, which I suspect is a deliberate structural thing. So you've got these people. I don't know how it's going to expand precisely over the next sessions. We are going to get some more characters coming up, but as I say, it's not a massive world in terms of numbers of people. Lynn.
Yeah, my thoughts about Lusam are similar. It's like that's just a weird choice. We've just changed it, unless he's going to turn out to be related to Old Lussam. Somehow we get this comedy reveal in the end. But my original thought, I want to go back to Mistress Arthur's moment where she says, like, why are you bringing me here? You know, just like you're airing my dirty laundry. I think that actually, for an actor particularly, might be a really valuable moment, because reputation and what people said about you was, I mean, it still matters more than we'd like to admit, but it really, really matters. The way you function in a society is you really needed to have a decent reputation, to have in order to you know, be integrated into that world. And what people said about you and your reputation really, really mattered. And I think that's part of what's motivating her to try to live up to this ideal of being the devoted wife, and yet the feisty resistor of inappropriate approaches from other men. That is consistent. It's because you got, like, gossip can just sort of ruin your life. So perception is everything, and she wants to be perceived as the right kind of person, and exposing her marital problems in this way is really not what she wants.
Okay, we're into extra time. Quick round of final thoughts. It's a bit early in the text to really come up with anything definite, but we can definitely start laying some markers. This is weird because there's part of me going, this play kind of works. It's not working necessarily the author's original intent, But there is a play here that is raising all sorts of really interesting issues. I'm not sure where tonally it all lies. It's got some great individual scenes, but it's all kind of weirdly working. So, I don't have a final thought, but I kind of go, well, this isn't. I was very worried about it from the beginning, and I'm still worried about lots of it. But there is potentially room for this, as it depends where the play goes, of course, with the many problematic directions that it's going in. As ever, the curse of the final session may leap out at us. Anyway, final thoughts from around the room. Elizabeth, anything to throw in?
Just briefly, just to say that, just like with Poetaster, I think it's too early to make a judgment on this text. I think in terms of the comedy, it's not quite landing on the funny side. I want to laugh, but some of the problematic dynamics in it are making it difficult to laugh, making it uncomfortable to laugh. So I want it to like err on the side of just funny. I was like, just be funny. Don't let's have more Pipkin and less Master Arthur, and more shenanigans and less abusing your wife.
Yes, a thought we can all get behind, I'm sure. Lynn, any final thoughts?
Yeah, it's too soon to tell. I agree with that. It's doing something interesting, though probably not what the author intended. I absolutely agree with that. Yeah, I am curious. My curiosity is definitely piqued because, the way I kind of want this to work out is that Arthur loses a good wife by being a shit. Turns out the marriage is annullable, and she ends up with Anselm or Lusam or something like that, someone who can respect her and value her, and her husband gets, I don't know, stuck with this woman he's in love with who actually can't ever be faithful to him or whatever. But I get the feeling that's probably not how it's going to work out, is the marriage that's already been solemnized is going to be, the plot's going to force it to work, and that's going to be unsatisfying for me as a 21st century person. I've never seen or read a comedy from this period where a marriage, once the ceremony has been performed, is dissolved. It doesn't work out that way. What was it, the witch or something? Marston's like the marriage that we don't want to happen happens, but there's a spell on the husband and he isn't able to consummate, but he has to die for the right guy to get the woman. So I kind of don't see Arthur getting what he deserves, and I'm not optimistic that his conversion to a good person is going to be persuasive, but I'm very curious.
Yes, I suspect you may be right, but I also suspect you may not be expecting where the story is going next. Or maybe you are. I could be lying. Alan, any final thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, there's been some very, very good, well-written scenes so far. Where the plot is heading, God only knows. And until we know what that is, how well it works as a piece, I think, is open for debate. But you could almost see, say, two aging actors hamming it up as the two old boys. And you've got the comedy vignettes we've had, the schoolmaster, the justice. As usual, the young leads, as usual at this stage, probably cardboard cutout. But that tends to be the way of rom-coms anyway.
Briony, any final thoughts?
Yeah, in a break from tradition, I normally take quite a while to really get into a play and want to say too much about it. But this one, I'm gonna stick my neck out and say I'm enjoying it already. It's the first time we've seen that Latin schoolmaster scene kind of work in a way that our minds, that we can really get it and enjoy it. So even if the ending goes completely to hell, there's that gem in there. But also, I don't know, I like the way the main characters are very real, and they've been painted as real people. And yes, it's uncomfortable and it's dark and it's difficult for us to enjoy from our modern standpoint. But then everybody else around them are these kind of comedic caricatures, which kind of softens it somehow for me. And I wonder whether there's any comment on the fact that all the older people in this, who seem to be the ones, they're the ones that have arranged this marriage, they're the ones that have kind of got the power, but actually have they? Because what can they actually do now that the marriage has happened and it's not worked? None of them seem really able to do anything about it. I'm very interested to see how it ends.
Yeah, you're right, because the Arthur says, "Well, I'm not a boy anymore. You can't make me do anything. I'm 21. I can do what I like." And yeah, there is something interesting that nobody likes what Arthur is doing. I mean, in that sense, the play is absolutely on the side, saying Arthur is a shit. So in a sense, the play is aware of these things. It's just going to be a question of how it lands. And I think I'm with Lynn in the sense of, oh dear, there's going to have to be some resolution and redemption for Arthur, isn't it? And we're not going to buy it, are we? But we shall see. Maybe he'll die horribly. Alexandra, any final thoughts?
I'm beginning to suspect that this title might be ironic. Because the title is How a Man May Choose a Good Wife from a Bad. And what we've seen so far is that the man has a good wife and can't tell. Or
doesn't care.
Yeah. Or doesn't care because he's got other plans. Yeah. But I think I agree with all the people who are saying that the writing is very good. Because yes, I think the way in which things are constructed, the way in which things progress, the language that is used, the characterization, is all very nice. So I strongly feel that the writing is good. I don't feel very strongly about the narrative, as in the actual plot. I'm not sure about that yet, which would be very sad because there's definitely a very good play here with a lot of modern resonances, good in the sense of, in the way it's constructed. But if it isn't good in terms of, as in, what's a value of good that is less sort of...
Just say it, Alexandra. Morally good. If it's not morally good, just say it.
That's if it doesn't suit our contemporary sensitivities, or it doesn't, if it's uncomfortable to watch and then it ends in a way that either feels like a lesson or a payoff, then it's worth doing in a modern context. If that kind of falls apart entirely, then despite the fact that we absolutely love how it's written, the what would make it unplayable, which would be very, very sad.
It is the fundamental problem. It's a comedy, and therefore the audience has to laugh. It doesn't have to laugh a lot, but it has to be having goodwill and general happiness if it's a comedy. I mean, we might be able to deconstruct it and make it into a moral thing and take elements out of it. But if we want the audience to laugh, the audience has to laugh. And they have to be comfortable to laugh. And if they're not comfortable to laugh, then it's no longer a comedy, and therefore it's no longer really a play. And it's the fundamental problem we have with almost all of our comedies, actually, is that actually there's a big problem about what people are willing to laugh at.
But this is my point. They could be laughing uncomfortably and then, getting something out of it in the end. But yes, it's because there's so much of this that is contemporary resonance that can be, that fuller. Wait, hang on. Yeah. So I think there's a lot of value in that. If it goes well.
So, I smiled at various comments made because I know some things about the plot. I look forward to seeing where how this lands. So, unless there are any additional thoughts, I'm going to close the session. All that remains is to thank all the wonderful readers for their wonderful reading. Thank you very much, everyone, and goodbye. Him will I belishlash.